Hello everyone, we are starting our day
Hi
11
Prayas.
broadcast today. Hi, day 11 broadcast today. And yesterday we concluded with the question with actually the speculative question, wondering if there is any power play involved in our heads for the emergence of what we identify with as a voice.
Right.
And today, as we are examining the buffer, we are going to take the buffer to be that moment of power play. So if you, I mean, it might seem like a stretch, but as we already looked at the now and the duration of the now on one of the past days, I'm going to take the liberty to reinterpret what the buffer means for us at this point to be the window that's open, right? So in power play, there is always there comes a time when a window opens and then you take power, right? And that defines that power play. So in the sense, there is an opportunity and that emerges, and that is a buffer.
Does the window first open and then the power play starts, or I'm a little doubtful on that?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, as I'm modeling this, problem, I'm just saying that in a struggle in the power play, there might be this this decisive moment. What we were also referring to in different ways yesterday. The decisive moment is the moment when the transition can happen. You know, so you can take power.
Like the game change.
Yeah, it can change the game.
Okay.
You said the game changer, right? That's what he said.
Yeah.
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 I'm still trying to look at what a buffer is. Like, because a buffer to me sounds like a blurred zone. It's like a place where nothing is happening.
Right. So it can also mean the insulating buffer, but you know, technically, it is the word is used to mean that, you know, in memory. So basically, things are stored to the memory of the computer in some way or the other. But what happens in real time in the now, before it gets saved into the memory, is the buffer. So, you know, you get a buffer overflow in software if your temporary memory, which is used as a buffer, fills up and you're not able to deal with the flood of information.
Right.
Okay. So we are saying that there is a experience being experienced, which is, and that's a whole bunch of information that's coming into the buffer.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah, so in the now, there is a now that emerges in which you know, it's like an open window. So which means that the opponent is weak in one particular now, and then it's possible to take over. So we are looking at that buffer in terms of how our voice emerges.
Okay. When I think of an opponent, a window opening and a buffer, I'm thinking like there are two entities which are competing. Both have buffers, both have windows. Whoever has a quicker response time or is able to interpret the flood of input coming in, whoever is quicker to respond to that is able to take power.
I mean, quickness would be one of the attributes. I mean, I don't know if quickness would be. So, you know, if I'm what I'm imagining is, you know, all these voices in my head, right? So all these possible people that I can be, but
Right.
then instead of exploring all those possibilities, I decide to be someone in specific.
Right.
So how does that come about, and through which? And we got talking about this in when we were talking of power in social systems,
Right.
and how democracy sometimes allows that transition of power. But and then we got wondering whether there is a power play of sorts inside a head too between the
Right.
multiple voices and the lone self. So that's how we got to it.
Right. Yeah. 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 So there's a multitude of voices, first of all.
Yeah, don't would you think so? Do you agree?
I personally think so, yes. I mean, I personally think that there are not only a multitude of voices, there are also a multitude of potential voices which may or may not get born.
Right. So potential voices are what? What are potential voices? I mean, are you saying that when a voice is able to take power,
Yeah.
then it becomes a voice? If it can't take control?
No, I think it's a voice, even if it is not in control, but there are other voices which are, if I get some kind of an external input which creates a new thought, a new idea, that could be that could blossom into a new voice.
Yeah, but
So
does it become a voice after blossoming, or it's always a voice?
I mean, it's always a voice. It's lying dormant. Given,
so
okay, it's like, sorry, go ahead.
is it like you're calling ideas as voices?
Not only ideas.
Like
Okay,
thoughts,
that's a
you
good
can say.
question. What
Like,
is a voice? I mean, is a
yeah,
voice a value? Is it something that makes me act?
I think voice is something that keeps you occupied or it fills the buffer. Voice is something which fills the buffer.
Voice fills the buffer.
Yeah.
That would mean that
That's interesting,
uh,
actually.
yeah, so that would mean that the voice emerges only in the present, and then what is the how do you accommodate for the multiple voices? And so are you saying that there is no power play at all?
Wait.
Uh,
If a voice did you say the voice is a buffer or voice has a buffer?
I'm saying voice is something which fills the buffer. If you think of buffer as a container, voice is
Okay.
something which keeps filling the buffer.
Okay.
So I think the larger the voice, it has more potential to become a power play. That's what I think so.
A
Okay, actually
larger
now, I'm
voice.
sorry, now I'm seeing the voice as something like a funnel.
A
With
funnel between what and what?
So a voice is what causes the buffer to fill based
Huh.
on its value system. So you have a whole bunch of input coming,
Right.
but the buffer is filled with what the voice makes it fill. What do you think, Uttam?
Uh, I really like when you said the value system because just categorizing the voice, I mean the size of the voice to fill up the buffer will not make sense. Like I might have a lot of thoughts,
Yeah.
um, but if I don't value them too much, it's possible that the buffer will be filled only a little, like a proportion, like a weight factor, you can say.
Yeah.
So voice multiplied by weight factor is what which fills the buffer.
I can see that.
But Satya, in your model,
Yeah.
uh, the funnel, what is a funnel? What
The
does it
fun,
symbolize?
okay. So uh, if I enjoy a particular type of aesthetic,
Hmm.
That when okay, all manner of aesthetics are being thrown at me, but I value one aesthetic over the others, and that aesthetic becomes the funnel for me to take all the inputs that are coming in and only take the ones which, I don't know if funnel is the right thing, but it's like a filter which is accepting only certain that specific aesthetic which I'm interested in.
But the filter is what? I mean, in the sense that, we know that we have filters in our mind,
Yeah.
and but at this stage, at the stage where we're talking about voices and the struggle between multiple voices, at that
Yeah.
stage, we're already inside the mind.
Yeah, we are, yes, but each the way voice for me is okay. I believe in what do I believe? I believe in, say, equality for all or something, and that's one voice. But at the same time, I also have a voice that tells me that this is my caste, and I believe that the people of this caste are great or something. Very bad example, but so so there are these two competing things inside me, which maybe I was born with this caste thing, but then by studying and learning, I got this other thing where equality is also a thing. So these are two voices inside me, and both are filtering the information coming at me.
Right. I mean, I understand voices to be entire people, know.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
in the sense that our heads are full of many, many people, and so when I say people, it just means like an entire person. So, a value system, a
Okay.
history, memory.
Okay. It reminds me of Midnight's Children, where that
Yeah.
Salim's head is full of all these people.
Do you
So are
guys
these
have names for these voices? As in when you say persons, right?
I've started giving names to these people.
Like what?
So there is Hoja Asli, and then there is Alishan Shaibag, and then there is Parkha Dutt, who is, only a half joke, right? And then, yeah, so I mean, I take these names and these voices very seriously in the sense that I don't think these are my constructions. These are not pseudonyms. These are people whom I try to get to know in the same way as I try to get to know you, for example.
Hmm.
This is a very nice experiment. I'm going to do this too.
I have named them Smarty Pants and Fat Bastard. So there's an asshole and there is a good guy all the time.
Yeah, yeah. You see
Actually,
now
I
when
don't. Sorry, yeah, please, Satya.
no, I mean now that I think about it, yes, people do exist inside us, and we suppress some of them based on yeah. I can see that.
Actually, I don't give them names, but I just talk to them, like how I talk to people. Like,
But are they, when they talk back, do the voices, are they able to respond with a different perspective?
yeah, all the time. Like, I don't know,
So
like I talk
you
to.
should give them a name then.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's important to give a name. I mean, I feel that it's important because unless you allow them to take on a name, there is always this question of ownership. In the sense, in a deluded moment,
Mhm.
you can think that these are my constructions, and you can become not so serious about them.
Right.
Actually,
So
it is a good aid for clarity. For
Right.
me, clarity is very important. So if I do this where I explicitly give these voices names, then yeah, that would help me in clarity actually. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, clarity in the sense, there are authorship issues, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
what I claim as mine,
Yeah.
Alishan cannot claim, and what Alishan claims as his, I cannot claim. And there are all these territories which are not fluid. I mean, I think these guys are violently holding on to their. I
But
don't know.
Prayas, do you think you are kind of running away from responsibilities by just saying, when you do something really bad, you just say, this bugger did that, and that's not Prayas.
So what's wrong with that?
Yeah. It's a
What's
great
wrong
way
with
of
that?
dealing
Because
with
I
it.
know Prayas, but I don't know the other guy, right?
Right. So you are saying that responsibility is difficult to fix.
Yes, I mean, I think that's kind of a cop out. You're escaping.
I
But what is he
actually
escaping? Is he escaping anything? What is he escaping?
He's escape. Okay, let's say he does something really bad. Okay. So don't
like a
ask me to
murder
define
somebody.
bad.
I murder somebody.
Yeah, you murder somebody, and then you are tried. Okay, and then you say that wasn't Prayas, that was this fat bastard. Okay,
Right.
then how's that gonna go?
It's actually a
That's a
good
cop
thing.
out.
No? It's a
No,
good thing because
it's
when he
a good
goes to
thing
the
from Prayas' perspective, but think of it as a judge. Like you are sitting
No.
there to judge him.
Right.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah, then I'll judge him
so
insane and then he'll get away.
I mean, only I can be judged, right? So because
Right.
only Prayas has a body and only
Exactly.
Prayas has a passport, right? So
Right.
Right. Right.
these guys don't have passports. But
Uh,
Yeah.
but
and
I mean, so I look at these guys as using Prayas as a channel. So what is my relationship with these voices? My relationship is that they use me as a channel.
right. No,
So
what
there
I'm
is
saying is like we have been talking about this thing, right? Like so certain things can be verified and certain things can't be. And you're talking about so naming these personalities inside you can't be verified, right?
right, right. So they are not real for you. They're the voices in my head are only real for me.
Yeah.
So that's
I mean,
true. I mean,
yeah, what I'm saying is you could name them and everything, but at the end of the day, you should take ownership for whatever you are doing.
right. I mean, right. So, I mean, I look at them more as channels of content, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, when I'm producing experience,
Mm.
now then I've, I try to know who is it that is transmitting, right?
Okay, so that's
Who it is.
interesting. Okay, so at any point in time, we have infinite number of choices, right? And then
Right.
the path that we take, or at that point in time, we take one choice, right? Like we go down one path, and the reasons that are instigating us to take that path, that will be interesting to think about. And if there is a pattern, if you look back into your own life and then you see there is a certain pattern that you're following at each point in time to choose a particular choice, then I think you would understand yourself better. And if you name something for that particular person, who is instigating you to take that particular choice all the time,
Mm-hmm.
then that'd be interesting. That's how I see it. That's
So it sounds like the goal that you're talking about is to understand oneself better.
yeah.
But
Whereas
Or acknowledging the voices.
uh,
someone else's goal might be to just enjoy the voices, which seems to be like what Prayas is doing.
I mean, it's like radio, right? In the sense,
Right.
like yesterday we were talking about inhibition, and we're talking about how, I mean, Satya said this, that, when so many people are, making so much noise, it can also make you want to shut up and, just keep quiet because you don't want to add to the noise. I mean, that's true, but, till you become angry. I mean, I think,
There's a bottom.
yeah, there is a point which can arrive in which you can feel like, I want to make noise, right? So
Yeah.
I don't want to taper off my voice overwhelmed by your noise. I want to make noise and overwhelm you. So you, for a chance, keep quiet.
Yeah.
Until that, I mean, when that anger emerges, I think that's what we're talking about today. That moment of power play. So, I mean, when you say that, I'm searching from a window now. I'm searching for the point when you slipped, and I take over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see this.
I was just listening to it all, and I'm wondering again a question that do we really need to firstly name these voices and give them a persona? Because again, we know a body, a person, and we try to again create a meaning, or do we take them as just different thoughts that a person has, and the person is me or you or whoever,
I
and
mean,
therefore
I
the
feel that the
first.
idea of the person dictates a kind of pattern, in the sense that pattern which goes for similarity or goes for something else, and which limits, eventually.
Yeah, but how does naming it or assigning it to a different person with another name, how does that help? Except what we were discussing earlier, if somebody murders and says, "No, it was that person which instigated me," or that voice which instigated me. I mean, ultimately, is it like detaching ourselves from what we are made up of with all those voices, or I mean, is there a need to detach ourselves from all of them, or do we understand that thought is not singular? There are multiple dimensions which we are constantly trying to grapple with and see. And again, the whole issue of choices, that there are always multiple choices and we choose one. But perhaps the fear of failing in one of the choices pushes us to believe that there are multiple things, and should I take the responsibility for this one, or should I pass it on to something else?
So, I mean, I don't really believe in the facility of choice, right? So I don't think we have any choice to decide uh, between all the multiple thoughts we have, and the thoughts which have different perspectives, each of them.
Yeah.
So, and I come from this place, from this, where my experience was that there were pockets of psyche which I just couldn't identify as myself, and so I couldn't speak. I couldn't let that pocket of psyche speak, right? So,
Yeah.
and then you have to, in the sense, spin it off, in the sense, just let it be whoever it wants to be, and become a source of its own content. I mean, I think
Right.
that's what I'm talking about, and that's what I responded to Sam, that it's basically the voice. It becomes a voice when it starts speaking.
Yeah.
So it doesn't sound like detachment to me. It's actually an acknowledgement.
Yeah.
I think it's actually, like a very conscious effort, uh, which means that you're reacting, but you're not reacting. You're reacting by not reacting. I think that's, uh, I mean, like the very fact that you have an inhibition about something is already a sign of you sort of having a response to any kind of factor in the environment or any event, any person who has made you angry, who has pissed you off, or anything that's outside you. So yeah, I do agree with Prayas that actually we don't have any choice. But what we could have is observation. So we could probably observe ourselves. I don't know what the topic is because I joined a bit late. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
In fact, if I can clarify a bit, I think choice is a wrong word that we are using. So I agree with you, Prayas, that it's not about choices. I think it's about the decisions that we make. And every moment we are making decisions, and we have multiple things given, or in a way they are a given, whatever these things, which appear like a choice, but they may not be a choice, but yet we have to make decisions. So it is about decision making rather than
Right.
choose.
You
Choose.
cannot make decisions without
Without choices. Yeah.
observing. So you have to observe first, and then make a decision whether how to react, or whether not to react at all, or whether to accept it.
But does
But
everybody take the time to observe? People react, right?
No, people are, I think, have very short memory and have very low patience. So most of the times we are not really observing. We are just soaking in whatever comes to us. Um, yeah, I think we kind of tend to forget that, there are things happening to us, but we are just a part of it, but not really seeing it from, from another perspective out. So it's, yeah, maybe
I mean,
somebody.
but I would say that I would ask who decides, because decision is just another word for choice. So,
Who decides? You decide, man.
I mean, but
Person decides. The person who is feeling it,
consciously,
experiencing it.
consciously.
No,
Anything
two
done
things. Two
consciously is
things.
a
So
choice, right?
when Satya says we sometimes people react, so reaction is an unconscious decision making, and where you
Right.
observe and take a decision, that's a conscious decision making.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
So
no, I,
the, Hmm.
sorry, go on.
Yeah, go on, go on.
I
Okay.
wouldn't say unconscious because we are always conscious. It's just a sleeping conscience, which is probably,
I mean, things like if you have a fire and your hand automatically moves away, like a that's like your primitive brain responding, right? You're not exactly using your frontal lobe for that.
So do you think we are not able to like bear that pain?
Yeah, but that's like my primitive response to it. It's like a flight or fight response kind of thing.
Yeah, if it takes you by surprise, yes. I'm sure.
No, there is
I would
another way
probably
to look at
respond the
it.
same.
Sorry, there is another way I would like to look at it, which is we were talking earlier about this whole idea of going beyond the moment. So if life was just a moment, then it's not there, or if the time freezes. So it's a continuity, and your decision making comes from, even the reaction comes from the experience of life, which is your observational part as well. So, for example, a child would want to, touch a fire, and they are always attracted to fire, and they try to touch it only when they feel burnt, or when somebody stops them and shouts and creates a sense of this being something terrible. Then they start learning to back off from that. So this is the way human beings, or beings, or all beings, I would
All
say,
beings, exactly.
explore and try to explore the environment, and that is
But
the learning, which allows
but
the
isn't there a
decisions which are.
isn't there a genetic component to it? I mean, is everything stemming from observation? I mean, what about infants?
Exploration. See,
No, it comes
observation
from
is also.
experience.
Yeah, and experience comes from exploration. So observation, I don't know, I mean, which way you are using the word observation, because it goes only to your visual and the auditory sense. But we use all the five sense to explore the world, the environment, the
No,
life. And
but Tashi used a very good symbol. She said the soaking up, right? So like a,
yes, yes.
and so if you think of yourself as a mirror, which is
Yeah.
only reflecting what is there in front of it,
That's
like
not
soaking up
soaking.
is better. Yeah,
Yes,
soaking up is better.
it's more like a sponge, right?
Right, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're like in the flow and
We
you're
just don't
going with the
have
flow.
I think we are always mentally occupied with lots of things, even if like maybe half of them we don't even realize we are occupied in our head. But I think I like by observation I don't mean that observation has to really come with lots of effort, and you're looking from outside, looking at yourself, not like that. But I think it's a very gradual process where you start observing yourself by, just really technically looking at what is happening inside. Like, if you take your sensations, the sensations in your body, across your body, like maybe you feel heat. Right now I feel heat, so, but I'm looking, let's say I'm trying to look at it as this sensation of heat, and I'm constantly observing it, and to a point where I don't have to make any effort. I'm just, yeah, so that's the kind of observation I'm talking about.
It
um,
sounds to me like there's an element of stepping back. You are not directly involved in it, but you're stepping back and looking at it.
Not involving, do you mean involving by reacting?
No, when you say like you feel heat, um, I can't
I'm
explain it, but it's like I have to detach, look, just go back from it, not feel the heat, but go back one step behind it, behind feeling, and
in a
observe
way,
that I'm feeling.
yeah, you're right. Actually, in a way, you're doing that, but that sort of lens, like it's a in a way it's a technique of
Yeah.
observing whatever is happening to your body, but you're not reacting. You're just
Yeah.
observing very objectively.
For
And
example, anger, like you have this feeling of anger and people react immediately, but you can choose to not react if you step back and observe the anger.
yeah, and I think at some point, like when you constantly do it, I think that maybe I'm wrong. Correct me, but I think at some point you realize that there are much greater truths
Yeah.
beyond ourselves. Like we like to give a lot of importance to our self-existence, like any individual does. I do too, but so yeah. So I think like in a way, like by that term soaking in, I meant basically, we are constantly occupied, so we are just going through this constant flow without realizing what is happening to us psychologically, mentally, spiritually, bodily, you know.
See, so
So
I would say that soaking in seems fine to me in a way that we are
it's
constantly
just a
trying to.
word. I'm not gonna like dissect it
Yeah,
too
yeah,
much.
yeah. No, no, I understand. I'm just thinking on it aloud that soaking seems to be still a fine word, but the word observer and being observational is slightly problematic because again, it is a kind of a power symbol, and that whole idea that we are so significant that we can observe and we
No,
are.
I don't think
But
so. Maybe
then
you're
I would just allow me to finish. I would go back to the idea which Prayas had initiated earlier, the idea of the game, and then we took it to even existence where we are there, but I wonder if we can really be observers. We are there, we are trying to grapple and create meanings, and observer becomes another meaning which we are trying to give ourselves. I think so, I don't know,
or
but
like has this argument already been set with conditions or
sorry.
No, like voices seem to be on autopilot, right?
okay?
So, I mean, voices in your head don't
Hmm.
seem to ask you for directions. Okay, should I turn left or right? Should I do this or that? They seem to be on autopilot. And that's what I'm pointing towards. So I'm saying that if there are all these voices, they're all on autopilot, and they are then struggling with each other. They are involved in the power play. Then who gets to take over, right? So, which is that moment of being when during which some specific voice is able to just become us, right?
That
Um,
sounds like politics to me.
yeah. Okay, so uh, extend, press, please. I'm not getting you entirely, by the way. Or
Yeah,
maybe I'm
I
just
mean, we are in a way just I think trying to understand uh, our voice. How does this voice become our voice, right? So in the sense, how does it become? How do we start identifying with one specific
You know,
voice?
I don't think we have just one voice throughout our lifetime. If you're doing that, it's a very sad case because our voices are always changing with every moment, with every present moment.
But is just
Like,
one voice changing?
it's one person having a lot of transitional realities. That's what's happening to us. We are this person right now. We are really angry. The next moment, we may feel completely different about ourselves. And I
No,
don't
but
think
I just one person. I just one person.
No, and what about just in one moment? Like at times there is one moment and you have a number of thoughts or voices or whatever you may call them coming to you. Now, what are you at that point of time? And that's where Prayas, I think when you are constantly focusing on which one, I would again open up the question to why should we focus on just one and think that one is us and the other voices or other whatever those things are different? Why I think all of them together probably is us, no? Or I
exactly,
or whatever.
But is there a
exactly.
power play going on? Is there one that's dominant or no?
I
No.
think there's I think we like to believe what we like to believe in a way, whatever is convenient, for our immediate reality, I guess. For our own like sanity, we like to, let's say, we want to believe in something, and in a way, instinctively, you know that it's going to keep you sane because it's like sort of, indirectly or directly keeping you sort of this as this acceptable being in social
So
circles.
you are saying that we are very cunning people.
No, no, I'm not saying that. We are animals, man. We are half animals. That's what I'm trying to
But we are cunning. You are saying that we are cunning. We are animals, but we are cunning animals.
I don't think we just have instincts. I'm not gonna add any
No, but
adjective to
no,
that.
I would just say that I wouldn't agree that our beliefs are just defense mechanisms. There is more to it than that, and they're not just not
But
defensive tactics.
you said you don't believe in choice, then where was I going? See, defense
Choice.
sounds.
It's Parvez who said that yeah, there's no choice. But actually, I do agree with him.
Wait, did Prayas you said no, or I'm totally getting
Yeah,
mixed
I
up?
mean, we were talking earlier about uh, how it's difficult to make decisions because decisions and choices need an agent, need an active voice to drive them.
Hmm.
So we
So
were saying, yeah, that there is no choice.
maybe let's set a scenario because decisions can go in totally different directions here.
So I mean, so Satya, you were trying to say that the idea of the defense sounds
Yeah,
like a good model for a environment with no choice.
yeah, something like that. See, if you're always on the defensive, it sounds like you don't have a choice, right?
Right. I mean, I agree with that, but then what about the offense, right? So when you are actually going for it, uh,
Then do you have a choice?
I mean, I don't think that is. So I think that even the offense doesn't have a choice. So it's not just something unique about the defense. So
Okay.
there are all these movements which you
So
don't
you're
know
saying
who's
that offense and defense, like the whole, it's a struggle that's going on, but there's really no choice involved in the struggle.
right. I mean, I'm just trying to get all of us to just look at this struggle and then typify this struggle. We can expand this struggle itself and
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it looks like, how Brownian motion is. I mean, there are all these things, just dust particles floating around randomly, and then suddenly one of them seems to be moving faster than the others. Why does that happen?
Right, and the question why, like we talked about it yesterday, is always, I mean, is always futile in the sense, you know.
No, but no, I'm trying to model what you said, like in the sense, how does one voice become dominant? The power
Right.
struggle.
Yeah, how does that become dominant? And when you're saying, why does a particle in a stream of noise suddenly change its direction?
Yeah.
Mhm.
To me, that looks analogous.
Right.
And does it stay dominant for a
It
long
may
time,
or may not.
or there will be
Exactly.
another particle that comes in dominant?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think it's a very fluid state.
It's a
Maybe they are
complex
like,
system. It's a complex
Yes.
system in which,
Yes.
you know, particles affect particles and, you know,
Yeah.
set off a series of events.
Yeah. Non-linear system.
Right. But Uttam, you have looked at many such kinds of complex systems, I believe, right?
Yeah, not many, but I studied some of them.
So, what kind of complex system would be able to represent the complexity of these multiple voices struggling between themselves, right?
Right.
I mean, I'm not
Another.
sure if I'm not sure if noise, a passage of noise is, uh, you know, layered. You know, I think we need to add more layers to the passage
Uh-huh.
of noise, because this is the passage of noise is happening in one dimension, right? It's happening in one layer, right? So there's,
Right.
and then,
Actually, I have always seen like these voices as like particles in an infinite well. In physics, like particles in an infinite potential well, and how the phenomenon of tunneling happens. Like classically speaking, a particle cannot be beyond like a whatever, like a potential. See, like a ball, you know, like if I throw a ball to a wall, in classical sense, the ball cannot pass through the wall. But quantum mechanically speaking, there is a probability that the ball can pass through the wall if you
Right.
consider it like a wave. So
Yeah.
if you model these voices as waves, you know, and whatever container or whatever we are talking about, the mind, then
right.
there must be
So
this
you know,
possibility of.
if you don't have collision, right? So
Uh,
if you don't model this noisy system as one in which the particles are colliding with each other, that's what you're saying, right? So in the sense, instead of
yeah,
colliding with each other, these particles could also be passing through each other.
But yet
okay,
they're influencing each other, right? I mean, even if there are
right,
waves,
yeah,
there's
that's what
interference that
happens. Yeah,
happens.
interference happens. You're right. Yeah,
Yeah. They're influencing each other.
right, exactly.
Yeah. But then I'm wondering where is the problem in that? Because that's what I would like to bring it back to, that these multiple voices are what create the I, and they between the interference or the interactions between them is what makes us react or decide to take
Yeah.
a certain
Right,
action.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
And that's what defines us. So the idea of separating those voices from ourselves is what I'm wondering, how helpful is that or not, or is it
I
like
don't
does
know if we are separating from us, na? We are just deconstructing ourselves into all these voices.
Right. I mean, it's a question of what you take ownership for, or what you claim an identification with, right? So,
yeah,
Hmm?
if you have to answer a question, what taste do you like? Which
Right.
color do you like?
Mm-hmm.
You will immediately, you know, express something, and that goes on to build a whole package of
Attribute.
yeah, of attributes of, you know, these configurations, which, you know, make up a whole system which behaves
Yeah.
only a certain way. and which means that it cannot behave in a certain other way, right? So
In that set of circumstances.
yeah, like the classical model of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right? So there are these. I mean, the split. I think
Yeah.
does the split happen in a whole person, or is the whole person only a fabrication in a split universe, right?
Yeah. It's like I don't know what the term is, I forgot, but it's like you have a whole bunch of waves that are intersecting, and what is the word? It's
Interference? Interference pattern?
when you have a whole bunch of interference, the outcome, there's one wave that comes out of it, right?
Superposition of waves, I don't know.
Yeah, when you superimpose all of them, there's one waveform that becomes dominant.
Like the resultant, I don't know.
Yeah, the
Like the
resultant.
convergent ray, the convergent ray.
There is, yeah.
Right.
So if we agree about the resultant wave, then it means we need to take up the onus.
Yeah.
Then the onus is on us.
No, why is that?
Who's us? Who's us?
That I mean, I am using the word us, but I mean I. That
I mean, but who's
construct
I? Is it the resultant, or is it all of these together at the same
Yeah.
time resulting?
the resultant, which is a result of all of these together, and that forms the I, which is this body.
Okay, at the moment. At that
Yeah.
moment.
At that
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
No, but that the resultant wave being a sum of all the interfering waves, or the resultant wave being a wave produced by the interference of the interfering waves,
Yeah.
I think are two different images. So
Right.
one is all of
Yeah.
them, and so more than each of them.
Right.
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 Hmm.
And when you say dominant voice, it sounds like, to me personally, it sounds like all of them are there. There is also the resultant, and the dominant at the moment is the resultant, but the other guys are still there. And that resultant could not have been there without everybody else being there.
Yeah. So in another way, but I think if we were to put it in another way, it is like we are making a choice from within ourselves, from among the various voices and various thoughts that are coming to us. And then we make a choice. So the choice is not an outward choice, but a choice which comes from inside, a
Yeah.
choosing of one, or a mixture, or whatever way we choose. But it's an inside choice reflected
Yeah.
out into the outside world.
So if
And the
we
Parvez,
think
choices
of this,
don't
can you
just
call? Sorry, please. Yeah.
no,
I
please
just
go
have
on.
one small question. Parvez, can we think the choice is being made by other waves for us? Can we think of it like that?
sorry, like which
Uh,
way? The one inside.
like if you model instead of different waves, if we take something like a frequency, like different frequencies which are sent on a same single wave,
Yeah.
and those other frequencies will make the choice for us whether you will be able to pick another frequency or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
you are saying that the conflict dictates the outcome. The
Right,
nature of the conflict dictates the outcome.
right, right.
Which is the
Sure.
same thing. It's the same thing, right?
Same thing as.
As the interference of waves.
Yeah,
You
Right.
have, yeah, okay. Yeah.
yeah.
See,
It's the same
it's
thing.
like
Yeah.
if we were to put it in musical terms, when you strike two different strings of a guitar or any musical instrument and at different frequencies, then one is you hear their separate bits, then you hear a combination, and then you hear a third thing, which is, Uttam, you know, the beats, the difference between the two
Right,
frequencies.
right, right,
And
right.
that's how you basically tune your musical instruments, by hearing the beats, which is a difference between the two. Right.
Right.
So the resultant would come in a number of ways, but the point is that I think the whole idea of choices as we make, they probably are coming from within our reactions inside, which could be
Right.
multiple reactions, as Prayas was saying, or
Exactly.
multiple voices, and we make the choice inside while we reflect it on the outside world, which is where it is given, and we think we are then choosing amongst that.
Hmm.
But the
Right.
choice, I think, is inside, so which is very interesting even for me to think.
I
Yeah.
mean, at this point, I'm not able to see how it is a choice, but more like an occurrence that is beyond choice, beyond control.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just keeping my resistance to the word choice aside for the moment, because otherwise, I'll
We
just remain obsessed about it.
did.
Huh,
I think
Kashi?
I think it's more of an accident in a way.
Right.
Like since you don't have much choice over your reactions because you're obviously like, there are layers of these experiences that we have, and once an external factor sort of nudges you a little bit, you tend to sort of react from the most, like, just imagine a box of experiences you've had, like major, minor, like really minor, and then it kind of accumulates, and suddenly one out of this box, one let's say wave comes out of this box, and then becomes this dominant wave. It's a bit like an accidental occurrence, as I would like to add that to um,
Yeah, so this accident happens, and then what do we have to say for it? So, in the sense, so Sam, are you following, where we are, or are you here?
Sam.
Sam,
Oh yeah,
Sam is here, but okay, maybe he can't hear us. But I mean, this accident happens, but what are we to say for it? In the sense, do we have to feel
no,
responsible for that accident, or are we in
I
spite of
think
that accident? Do we survive that accident?
we always survive because there's always a defense mechanism built, but through our instincts. But I think, yeah, what was the point that you
You were
saying?
talking about the accident,
No.
this.
Before you said survived, what did you say?
Responsible.
Yeah.
Responsible, or and before that?
Accountable.
Okay. I think
Yeah,
I'm.
we can also move. We don't need to, I think, stop here in the sense. We can also move beyond this. This problem of the buffer, because it might also be a dynamic which we are trying to describe while the dynamic is still at play. So there might actually not be anything to respond to this.
I think there's a lot to it, but yeah, if there's like more factors that we can consider, it would be great, because unless everybody feels like that's really going into this subject, because we can go our whole lives on this.
Can I ask another question here? I mean, we are discussing about these voices and then these waves and whatever inside us vis-a-vis the outside world. Now, what would happen, suppose we are living in a vacuum, that there is no such thing as an outside world?
which is the truth, right?
Huh?
So,
I
which
don't
is
know
true.
if it is true. I don't know if it is true or not. I'm just saying, imagine that there is nothing you feel with your other senses, with any of your senses, which means you have only a world inside. Now, still, would you have multiple voices or multiple waves to interact with, or will it then be one?
So,
I personally think there will be. I think there will be multiple.
They will still be multiple, but then what are they reacting to, or what
To
are they
each
doing?
other. To each other. It's like a detritus. It's the outside which there is a certain amount of inertia from withdrawing from the outside, and suppose that inertia has also been overcome, there are still multiple based on my genetics, based on my, nurturing, whatever, various threads inside me.
But
Value
what
system.
if there is no outside world? What will they be reacting to? And I do not know so much about genetics. I mean, I really don't know what really genetics lead to or where it goes.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
sorry, I'm using the word myself very loosely, but
that's okay. Yeah.
But I mean, I'm saying that if you imagine this world to
Yeah.
be there was a small fragment of conversation yesterday that if you imagine this world to be inside somebody's head, right? And
Mm.
all these all these voices, all these people are actually voices.
Yeah.
How would that change how we look at the world?
I mean,
there's
provided there is an outside world.
exactly.
Yeah, so suppose our outside is somebody else's inside, right?
I don't think so.
Well,
No,
Sorry.
I'm just saying that
Right.
the inside and outside is, it's a coin that flips. So in the sense that you can call the outside inside as easily as you can call the inside the outside. So these voices, which seem to be very ghostly and not having anything that roots them and connects them to the plane of reality, these voices can, suddenly also seem as real as any other person. If you,
No, I get it. I get it. So the question there would be if other people or voices in your head, so which means these voices have certain characters, certain persona. But what happens to the voices already in your head which doesn't have a body, which doesn't have a structure there?
no, so I'm not saying that the other people are voices in my head. I'm saying that if we were all voices in somebody's head,
Okay.
so
Yeah, then the other person should be voice in your head, right?
right now we are all voices in each other's head.
Exactly.
Exactly, exactly. And the beauty here is that we only have the voices. I don't know anybody here, so
Right,
that's
right.
Yeah. So, I mean, for all practical purposes, we are actually this is a great model for what we are talking about.
Right,
And
right.
therefore, the whole idea that is it all the entire world and all things happening inside, or is there an outside world which we actually feel, perceive, and they produce the multiplication of the voices within?
Actually, it is sorry. One. Sorry, Prayash, you wanna add something?
please continue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, it is very interesting to see how we have always been modeling ourselves as closed and hollow objects where we have voices in our heads. Is there any other way to model ourselves instead of like a closed geometric shape?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as
as
if
a
our body was just a container.
Yeah, without. I'm saying instead of
instead
considering
of
body as a
particles, we
container.
become waves.
Yeah, instead of considering the body as a container, is there any other
Right.
way to model ourselves? It's very fascinating to note
So
that.
you are in a way asking if the mind lives only in the brain or if the mind lives in the whole body, right?
I'm whatever I'm
Yeah, I mean in that sense. Yeah, I understand.
removing the concept of a body. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right, right, right.
Yeah, I'm eliminating the idea of a body now.
So we could be a collection of ideas.
No, I don't think why you see it as something as a boundary. Even if
Yeah,
we,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
even if you think of us talking about, internal reflection and everything, which still is infinite to me. What if there
Right.
are infinite reflections within ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any problem with that. It's like a bottomless pit. That's it. Just that we are seeing it from the outside. And then, like if you think of something like a black hole, right? There is this concept of photon sphere. So
Mm-hmm.
this photon sphere is the point where one can actually see the reflection of their back head. Like the gravity is no, that's actually no, No, okay, Google about photon sphere. Okay, it's very fascinating. So what happens is the gravity is so high there, it actually curves time and space so that the light that's reflected from the back of your head comes to the front of your head. You know, you can actually see it. Wait, why did I talk about photon sphere? Oh, about black hole. So,
No, but the model of your model of the photon sphere. I mean, I'm sure maybe that model already exists, but I'm
Yeah.
saying that that model is very useful in thinking of the voices becoming people and the people becoming voices, because you know, because your voices are the back of your head and the people are the front, whom you can see, and if they switch
nice.
spaces.
Mm.
You know,
So,
when you
what were
say
the
that,
conditions?
I'm sorry, and for me, when you say that, it sounds like here I'm observing people around me play politics with each other, and that's pretty much what's happening in my head with all the voices.
Right.
Yeah, so you become one with the rhythm of the outside being. You become in sync, right? Like, so you begin to vibrate at the same frequency at which other people are vibrating. Then I think it takes us back to stillness. I don't know.
Like everything cancels out each other.
Or everything elevates each other. I know. I mean, I was listening to you guys talk about the wave and the superimposition of that. So there, the important concept is how a trough and a crest cancel out each other, whereas
Right.
whereas a trough and a trough meeting, you know, elevates them to the
Yeah.
next level, right?
Mhm.
So when you guys were talking about how choices are being made or how decisions are being made out of choices, I think it's happening at the trough meeting at trough level, which I think from a philosophical, from a value system perspective, my values are being superimposed and then it's getting stronger day by day.
And you're
So
saying the
the,
lowest common denominator of the values they win.
uh,
Trough, right?
trough, yeah.
So the greatest commonality. So actually the HCF, not the LCM.
And is it a trough?
No, then it'll be the, yeah, that's the trough. The HCF is the trough and crest is the LCM.
I mean, I'm kind of using the word lowest common denominator in terms of like how we say it in pop culture to say, you know what I'm saying? Like the worst always emerges out of stuff.
Worst always emerges out of.
Like people come down to the, you know, when you have a bunch of like pop culture caters to the lowest amongst a bunch of people.
To the majority,
Oh,
like what we were
yeah,
calling the
just
majority yesterday.
yeah. So it's more like masala movies, Bollywood movies you're talking about.
Not a- Because I mean, trough to me sounds like, I mean, it's a value judgment. Maybe, you know, a trough can be a crest, but because when we use the word trough, it sounds like something is being lost.
In fact, that lost reminds me, I'm kind of lost now where I feel exactly.
No, yeah. So I was going to be, just going to become the navigator. So
Okay.
you know, if we are in this, if we assume the photon sphere to be real just for a second, and if we allow the voices to be people and people to be voices,
Mm-hmm.
you know, then in the buffer, in the moment of struggle, what's continually happening is a kind of masquerading, right? So in the sense of what we identify as the same voice might not be the same voice.
Mm.
So in a way, like you like a voodoo puppet, right? So in the sense that you have a possession, you have an act of possession happening.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
So in the act of possession, we so if you just imagine a lot of doors which are switching open and close randomly,
Mm-hmm.
and if there is a ball or if there is a person walking
Mm-hmm.
through these doors, then at a given point, is the door in front of this person going to be open or close? Will allow or not allow the act of possession. So the decision that Sam was describing in a very organic way, in a way, that waves merge into each other and either cancel each other out or strengthen each other. So signals in that sense are going through a process of power play in which they ascertain their own strengths.
Mm. And are we referring to these voices and these signals as, and the power play as something which makes us act or decide or whatever?
It's actually going on to the to what we look at tomorrow, which is what do you remember out of it, right? What do you remember after this moment is over? So uh, the act of possession seems to be possible because you're still going to remember the same person. No, you won't even find out if this person was actually possessed by somebody else. And
Um,
Like
actually,
which was the dominant voice in their head. We don't know that.
sorry, I missed that.
It's like when you see this person again, it's the same person, but you don't know which was the dominant voice in their head. You see the same person.
Right. So it's more of a compulsion to hang on to the same
The habit.
to the same handle, to a notion of the same person.
Right.
Then it
actually,
being yeah.
Prayas, why did you? I mean, when you said possession, right? For me, it brings me back to the idea of a body, but I'm rejecting the idea of a body, and I don't see how possession. I mean, how to actually understand possession when you don't even
Yeah,
have
so
a body.
I mean, I'm saying that so the idea of power play of a struggle is that I can sit on the chair that you're sitting only if you get up, right? So
Okay.
power play seems to be mutually, it seems to be an exclusive act in the sense that either you will sit there or
Yeah.
I'll sit there. But
Right.
possession is so we can both sit there. So I will sit on the chair through you. So what you were saying of the ball going through the wall, going through the wall.
Right.
So I will go to the chair through you.
Okay.
So that's what possession allows.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, we are also, I think the notion where somewhere we started was that these voices are what are making us act in the outside world.
Right.
There is a dominant voice which makes us act outside the world. So I would, I'm wondering, what
Mm-hmm.
is there a thing called instinct, and if so, then what role does it play? And is instinct also one of the voices, or is it not? Because there are so many things we do instinctually. We may have multiple
So
thoughts on it, but
instincts are whispers.
okay.
Of the voices.
Right,
But
so they are the voices that are not potent enough.
No, but they are so potent that they just make you do it.
yeah, in spite of a lot of voices, you actually act by your instinct most of the time.
Right.
Right.
Which is
I'm
what I was
wondering
talking about, the
that.
unconscious, where you're not consciously making a decision. You're
Yeah.
instinctually doing it.
And which Tashi was refusing by calling everything a conscious and
Uh,
only a waking conscience and a sleeping. Right, Tashi? That's what you were saying.
Yeah, right.
Oh, no, no, no. Okay, I want to disagree with that. Okay, so when something becomes unconscious is that the number of times you experience the same thing, and then it becomes, this particular experience becomes a fact, and then it becomes unconscious.
But what
initially,
I'm saying is that even besides that, there are some things which are there which you haven't done that many times. You haven't practiced, but it's already there, that instinct.
like what?
I agree that
Like
what you're saying.
carnal instinct.
I'm sorry.
Give me an example of. Okay, let's see.
Okay, can I give an example here?
Yeah, yeah,
Let's talk about instincts. For
yeah.
example, birds, they build their nests, and there is a particular time when they start building up the nest. Now, what is it? Do they have multiple voices which tell them to build or not build a nest, or is it the instinct? And if the bird which does it for the first time in their life, they haven't
Exactly.
even experienced it. So where
Exactly.
does that come from?
Right.
But we were talking about instinct a few days back in terms of the universal attention.
Right. The collective unconscious sort of.
Right.
No, but
And
collective
then we went
unconscious.
away from it.
Sorry?
No, so I'm trying to remember why we went away from it.
Yeah.
Uh,
But I
so
think Parvez, you were saying that collective unconscious is something different, right?
Yeah. Collective
Yeah.
unconsciousness is a different thing, and
Yeah.
instinct is a different thing. And instinct I had linked to earlier, that is where probably genetics come into play in the DNA.
Right. Right.
but why would you say that instinct is different from the collective unconscious?
Sorry, why or what?
Why would you say they're different?
I mean, I think the mechanism would be different.
I mean, both are silent operators,
But they are
and
distinct.
Both are silent, yes. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Satya. Yes.
No, go ahead.
I mean, both are basically, in a way, silent, but an instinct is quite often that you do not even know where it comes from. But for a collective consciousness, you can often trace where it is coming from and that's why it is called collective consciousness.
So, sorry, what is collective consciousness for you? Or for anybody? I actually don't, like, can you explain?
it's the collective fabric of it's the similarity between what we call our culture, right? So in the sense, there are lots of, even though your experience of this world might be totally different from mine, there is an overlap, and that overlap allows the symbols in your head to be similar to the symbols in my head.
Okay, so it's
I
more
think-
like a categorization of people's conscience.
No, it's the common material. It's like the common. I mean, Parvez, you're adding on to the concept in some way.
Yeah. I mean, basically, collective consciousness is loosely defined as shared beliefs or shared ideas or moral attitudes which operate, and therefore they can be different in different cultures, right? But instinct is more connected to this whole concept of survival, and
Yeah.
therefore that would be similar in fact, not only just humans but across beings, across living beings, so to say, as we understand them.
So Parvez, are you saying that the voices are
Hmm.
instinctive? Like,
No. I am questioning them and putting them against instincts. And I'm saying that even when there are voices, at times we act by instinct rather than even letting the dominant voice or whatever the resultant of them are.
But
And
then,
continue with.
Parvez, but then Prayas said that the instincts are whispers.
Right, which I don't agree with.
No, I mean, I can see that to a certain extent, in the sense that instinct is also a voice, which is, it's like a low hum in the background, it's always there. But actually, it's the most dominant voice.
It's like, I've baked you a cake. Please come have it, and you're really hungry.
Sorry.
Like that, I guess.
I thought you were actually inviting us.
No, I was going to take the next flight. My instinct was telling me to take the next flight out.
Hmm.
So, are you guys saying that actually there's instincts and then there's conscience. Is this what you're trying to say? Are there like
No.
different? Are there two different entities which do not like sort of have any overlap
Yeah,
at
I
all?
would see conscience is a more moral kind of a term,
Yeah.
right? So conscience is a construct of the so-called idea that human beings are social animals and therefore we are above others and blah blah blah. So conscience comes from there, perhaps. That's what I understand from its definition. But instinct is the so-called, in a way, it's the life force. It's about survival. It's about now that you're born, you're instinctually working to live, which earlier we were talking about in the last discussions, and the Prayas was saying the compulsion to live or the compulsion to play the game we are in. So that's where the instincts come from. I mean, that's what I am terming
So,
as.
but Parvez, would you agree that the instincts are like noise? So, we what we manage to do is in spite of our instincts, right? So, otherwise, our instinct would be to just run away from everything, and I mean, we are afraid of everything in the sense, instinctively afraid of everything.
Wouldn't that make everything else noise? I mean, I would think that instinct is not noise, but what we add on to it by socialization is actually noise.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Maybe
I
it is
mean,
good for me to run away. Maybe I should be running away.
yeah, I mean, I basically
Run away.
also, to give you another example, a very simple example I play with this again with children in a way, is that one of the instincts is, for example, to have food. Now, if you look at the children of today's, the one of affluent classes, they don't even know what hunger is because there's so much food available and they are always fed. So they are disconnected with the instinct of even hunger. Whereas the other things, which, for example, that somebody will feed or somebody will switch on a TV and then the child will eat and blah blah blah. These are all conditioned so-called noises or voices where people get stuck with and then detach themselves from the instinct. And the instincts are basically hunger and procreation and survival, three primarily, which have been described, and so far I have not been able to question them beyond that. So I don't know, it
Yeah.
may be it's again a human construct that these are instincts, but I haven't been able to question them but rather see them in children with whom I work at times. So
Right. So, I mean, I think at this point, we have these two things going on. We we have voices, and there's this photon sphere of voices becoming people and people becoming voices, and we have instincts, right?
yeah,
Which are in a way automatic, which are before, which are which are in a way,
primordial,
yeah, right.
Programmed.
right,
So, and when we think of memory, when we think of the memory of experience, in the sense, what it is that we remember of what happened in the moment, in the moments that pass, instinct is not part of our memory at all. What's part of our memory is only voices.
No, I think our memory is always there. We
No,
we
so
are just
what
remembering.
gets
We are not
memory is always
remembering.
there.
No. A person who has amnesia will still be able to operate on instinct.
Yeah.
Right.
yes,
So there's no memory.
Exactly.
So
yeah,
instincts don't become part of the memory at all. So that's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
Right.
uh,
Right.
I mean, I'm just saying that for us to link to tomorrow, which is the memory of experience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying we can keep both of these things in the flux. We can keep instinct and we can keep voices, but we have to. I think uh, we have to understand the relation to memory as we maybe start the conversation tomorrow, because
Mm-hmm.
their position in our memory is what constructs our experience, right? So why is instinct still something that we need to talk about figuratively? Because we try to deny it, because what we remember of our what has happened in our life is mostly, oh ha, yes sir, we thought of all of this, and this happened, and then I decided to do this, and there's this series of there is this narrative, and which is a voice basically, which is a sequence of voices, which is a cluster of voices, and instinct gets swept away by the wayside. I mean, instinct doesn't get remembered at all.
Yeah.
So if you are just pausing here today for taking these things up tomorrow, we have these two things that we are we have to see the relationship to memory and see what happens.
Right.
Thanks everyone for joining the day 11, and I hope to see you on day 12.
Yeah.
Thanks for us.
Good
Thanks
night.
all. Bye.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Good night.
Good night.